Hello, everyone. Welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Hempar, and I have another weekly update for you. I'm going to try to keep this one short, um, but get right into it. I've been busy. I always am busy. School class starts soon. I haven't gotten the last book I need for class, but that's fine. I finalized my next translation and I recorded it, and I'm getting much faster with my readings, as considerably shorter than the first homily I read. And considerably shorter even than the last one I read, which was shorter than the previous one. Um, but I finished 4 books this week. I actually have physically all 4, which as of late has not happened very often. So I grabbed those, and then though of the other 2 that I'm reading, so then I have 3 books I'm in the middle of, and I only have one of those physically. So the first book, I don't remember what order I finished this in, but anyways, I finished Angel with the Sword by C.J. Cherry, and it's a cool Hildebrandt cover. Really lovely book. I really enjoyed this. This is a lot more memorable, a lot better than the first Cherry book I've read, which was Gate of Ivorel. I read that about 3 years ago, and I have not gotten to the sequel still because I just don't really. I would like to. I did like the first book. I just wasn't like great, so the priority is like really not there. This is really good. I really like this. And even though I don't really like the stylization of this like series name, Merovingian Knights, I don't think that works very well, but cover's good enough. And the book is pretty fantastic. I mean, it is about this main girl named down here, Altair, is her name, and this guy, pretty much, right? Because what happens, she runs a boat. This boat's actually a little bigger in the story than this is on the cover, but she ships products kind of for a living. She's not very old. She's probably only about 17 or so, and but she's been living on her own for 5 years, and she ships products, and then she stays out of trouble. She's pretty lower class. All the people on the water are at the lower part of the city. It's kind of like Venice in a sense, but they're the lowest class. You live higher up, the higher class you are. It also depends on the island you live on too, but still, you live higher up, then you got class, I guess. And so a body is dropped into the water in front of her. That is how this book starts, and she fishes out of the water, and then the adventures ensue. It starts really slow, kind of builds into like more of a thriller idea. I really like it. Altair has a lot of spunk. She kind of talks like a city slicker, lower class, like maybe, I don't know, kind of imagine it's like Cockney or whatever, but not quite. But it is set in the future. It's technically science fiction. It is set in the same universe, which I'm forgetting on what it's called right now. Wow. Okay. C.J. Cherry has a very big popular sci-fi universe. She's put a lot of series into, and this is technically in that, but it is in a world that has been disconnected from the rest of human space stuff, and they know that. They're aware of this, right? In fact, they curse their ancestors for giving up space, type of thing, right? That's how the book starts, kind of. Because Merovingian sucks. I guess Merovin is the name of the planet. Merovingian is the name of this city in particular, which is where the spaceport was, over 600 years ago or whatever. So, but something because of the alien Shar, these humans no longer have access to space, and so you can tell it's sci-fi in a sense, but it reads a lot more like early modern. Kind of reads very much like its own thing. It doesn't really come off as super fantasy feeling to me, though it's kind of science fantasy. There's really no magic at all, and there's nothing really that looks like it's magic. There's no super science, whatever, indistinguishable from magic or whatever. No, there's a gun. There's like a revolver. Really not common. There's engines on the boats, right? And some of those boats get really big, and so they kind of come off as kind of sci-fi. But yeah, it's pretty much its own thing. I really like it, if you can tell. I also finished the second book in this bind up, which is called Conquest. Actually, not actually meant to be the end of the series, but Lynn Abbey does not own the copyright to the series somehow, and so I guess she was never actually contacted to finish the series. I think it was supposed to be 5 books originally. This one is really good. I like it a lot. Lynn Abbey has a really interesting style that is like, it really didn't impress me the first time I read Lynn Abbey, But she's one of those. So I read a book by her, and it was The Nether Scroll. It was the first book I read by her. And then after reading it, I was like, "Wow, this is kind of disappointing," or whatever, right? But then, like when I think about that series, though, that is one of the most memorable books in that series, probably the most memorable book in that series, and it is just like it stuck with me a lot. And so I found that she's an author that really sticks with me when I read her stuff. She has a really interesting way of portraying characters that I feel like is actually pretty realistic. Honestly, when people tell me they like Robin Hobb's characters, I actually just think of Lynn Abbey. I've tried Hobbit several times, and I just haven't had any success. Um, but I like Lynn Abbey a lot. Not that they're really comparable at all. And Lynn Abbey is way, way less popular, that is for sure. And she doesn't really write the big epic fantasy stuff. This is fantasy, it's historical fantasy. Doesn't get most of the historical stuff right. It gets the important stuff right, really. I mean, the story works. If you want to be nitpicky about it, then you would find a lot of problems. But it is right leading up to the Norman conquest in 1066. It kind of ends satisfyingly enough, but there's obviously a big loose thread that would not have been a big loose thread, I think, if Lynn Abbey knew this was going to be the end of the series. It does get a bit dark. So Lynn Abbey often writes what I would call feminist literature, feminist fantasy literature, really, but she's like very like it's kind of in the undertones. Like it's always there, but Lynn Abbey writes in a style that like C.J. Cherry a lot, like or a lot of these older authors from the 70s, 80s, 90s, whether they're men or women, where they're just a lot more subtle. Okay, there's a lot more subtlety going on than you get in a lot of modern fantasy, right? Where it's got to be preachy and telling you either it's preachy or it's just treating you like you're dumb. And then that's not all fiction, right? But it is kind of like that, or it's even repetitive or whatever, right? So she has a lot of like heroines, right? That's really the main gist of her books. But they're often subject to misogyny or sexual assault and stuff like that. So this one actually gets pretty brutal. There's actually rape in this book, and but it's interesting. The magic works well with how these character dynamics work in a world that's really just full of men, and they're the ones in power in this case. Anyways, I also finished Idylls of the King. I shared my thoughts about this last week. I don't have much more to say. I probably won't do a review of this just because I don't really have much to add, but I did enjoy it. And then I did finish The Face of Chaos. I was really close to finishing this one last week. And I found out actually that after reading it, whatever the last story is, Mirror Image by Diana L. Paxson, I found a Thieves World chronology online, and I had been following that. And I found actually a couple times already that is wrong. They would say you could read Dagger after book 2, after The Voyeur Unicorn, which is not true. I would read Dagger after reading this. Okay, and this is book 5. Okay, because Dagger is a sequel to this last book, this last story, Mirror Image. And same with Shadowspawn. I had seen that you could read it after book 3. That's not true. I'd read Shadowspawn after reading book 4 because there is a story in there that leads to Shadowspawn, the novel, and I don't. Whoever made that chronology must not have actually read the books recently, if I were to guess, and weren't remembering quite exactly. But those are the 4 books I finished. Just real quick, because I actually have people I need to go talk to. But I am reading Perils of the Past by Kane Williams. I got an e-arc for this one. I'm about a fourth of the way through. I am enjoying it. It's not like great yet. We'll see if it gets there. I think it has the potential. I don't even know if it's first in a series or not, but it is indie, I believe. Yes. So I'm enjoying it. I haven't read a epic-ish indie fantasy book in a minute, I feel like. But I'm enjoying it. It's not bad. I really like the cover art, and there's got some good art throughout. And there's 3 characters. I'm more partial to 2 of the characters over the one. That one character is the main character, actually, the one that has the most page hang. We'll see how I feel, though, for the further I get into the book. I think I'll have more thoughts. I also am reading In the Ruins. I think I'm probably about halfway through. I'm doing the audiobook for Kate Elliott because I don't have any other version of the book, sadly. And so, but I am enjoying In the Ruins. In fact, I'm enjoying it a lot. Much better than, say, what was book 3 and 4, The Burning Stone and Child of Flame, I think. The Gathering Storm was better. I did enjoy The Gathering Storm. It was really long, though. I just think it had some good stuff in it. It ended really well, too. I think in the Ruins had a really strong start, picking up where Gathering Storm left off, and it's just more to the point. Excuse me. It's much more easy to follow. Easier to follow. Stuff is getting done. It kind of reminds me of like Robert Jordan's Knife of Dreams, right? Like you can just see like night and day difference between that and Crossroads of Twilight, which was terrible, right? And Knife of Dreams is actually really good. So even though I don't like Wheel of Time as a whole all that much, but still, things are getting going to the point where we're going to get to the end, and it'll be interesting. So, and I am enjoying it. I want to finish this so I can get one of the epic fantasy series I'm reading done. I'm wanting to finish Malazan Book of the Fallen here too soon as well, and I do have the last 2 books of those as well, though not physically, and so hopefully I'll finish those as well. But we'll see. But I have another Kate Elliott stuff, the book that's coming out. Actually, I have the e-arc for that. I want to read that, so I thought I should at least get further in the series I'm already reading by her. I've been reading for years. So the last book I'm reading, though, is Daughter of the Bright Moon by Lynn Abbey. Again, Lynn Abbey. Book. I already read one by her this week, and I read a story from her in The Face of Chaos. This is her debut, actually, in 1979. The cover is like, I got mixed feelings on it because this guy back here looks really lame, and the woman looks okay. The horse looks awesome. Turin is the horse with horns in this book. Very sword and sorcery, though I've literally never heard anyone in the sword and sorcery circles that I am a part of mention this book. It is a little thick, I guess, for most sword and sorcery, but it came out in 1979. It's like on the tail end, kind of the sword and sorcery renaissance. I would say it's pretty sword and sorcery. It feels a little bit like the heroic fantasy from the 80s, and even 90s, which is to say it's not like a huge conflict going on. It's like big enough, but it's really focused on one person. She is an outsider still, and I would say sorcery is considered a bad thing, though it's normally just called witchery, sorcery, kind of. And the main character kind of has some magical powers of her own, but it's really only healing, or is it, right? So it's kind of plotless in a sense, but it's kind of getting there, I think, and I am enjoying it. I don't know, I'm enjoying it. I like Lynn Abbey, like I've mentioned before, and this is Riftkind. It has 2 sequels. The first one came out a few years after this. I don't remember what it's called. And the one after that came out like 20 years after that. So I imagine the third one's not really all that connected. I don't know if this, I feel like this is probably a standalone. Like it probably works as standalone. But I don't know. I haven't finished it yet. So we shall see. I am enjoying it though. I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would because I was afraid, right, that it was just going to be some garbage 70s like sword and sorcery knockoff. Just like a lot of fantasy is just knockoff stuff that I don't really enjoy. I actually, even though I enjoy sword and sorcery, a lot of the stuff is bad. Just like a lot of epic fantasy is bad. And so I was afraid of that, even though I like Lynn Abbey, right? This is her first published thing. I don't know, but I'm enjoying it, actually. I was surprised. It still reads a lot like Lynn Abbey's later stuff. So our main character is funny because she's like really not that great of a character, but I think Abby did that on purpose, and I think she knows that because at least it does take a few chapters to get to it, but she's got some really good foils, which really highlights this character, and it's not like she's just trying to do some edgy sword and sorcery stuff that was typical of the time or whatever, that she's actually kind of aware of what she's doing, right? It's not just some cliche garbage or whatever, where someone's unaware that they're writing cliche garbage. So it's not cliche garbage anyways, but I think she's aware of what she's doing is all I'm saying. So anyways, let me know what you've been reading though. I got more translation stuff I need to get done. Supplement, I gave myself way too much work. Oh, actually, real quick, I'll mention, my friend sent me a book. I was not expecting this. A volume, let's see, the Arthurian Archives #4, Norse Romance 2, The Knights of the Round Table. I don't know what the first 3 volumes. I don't know what's in Norse Romance #1. Mostly what I wanted this for actually is Parsifal's Saga, with Volvensdatter, which I don't really know how it's connected, but there's an introduction to that bit, so I think I'll probably read through it. It's nice though. It's a nice edition. It's got the side by side. This is the Old Norse. This is the Modern English. My Old Norse is not very good, so I had barely started going through Parsifal's Saga myself, just in the Old Norse. And while I feel like I was surviving, I was not flourishing. So I think this will help, and it should be interesting to read a romance, an Arthurian romance, but in Old Norse. Honestly, I don't think people realize that the Old Norse sources were written down at this time, right? Old Norse was spoken earlier too, um, but the Norse were largely pagan at the time, so they didn't really write anything down. So mostly our Old Norse sources are actually more from the High Medieval period, not the early medieval period. Even though when we think of Old Norse, we're thinking of like Vikings, which would be early medieval period. So um, besides that, I got some books of my own. So I mentioned Angel with the Sword earlier. Uh, Angel with the Sword is like Thieves World. I didn't really clarify that. Thieves World is mostly anthologies. It has novels later, and they're more like tangential to the story. Angel with the Sword is the intro to another shared world anthology series, but it's a novel, right? But the rest of the books after that are all anthologies. So I have the first six here. Yes, the first six, and there's only one more. So Flood Tide's the last one. There, the before last one, I guess. So you have Festival Moon, um, and then you have Fever Season. These covers vary. Some of them, like this, I really like Fever Season, but Festival Moon is really not that great. Troubled Waters is okay looking. Smuggler's Gold, Divine Right. So this has a lot of the same authors, or a couple of the same authors you'd see in Thieves World, like Lynn Abbey, and Robert Asprin, and then Flood Tide. And there's only one more after this, and it's called Endgame. So I need to get that one still. But I found these first six listed from one eBay listing. So yay for me. So I'm looking forward to reading those. I think it'll be interesting. I actually looked at the cast of writers and almost the whole cast, and like there was women, which Thieves World seems some of the issues actually, some of the thing, yeah, some of the I think Soul of the City I think has like only three authors and they're all women. So, um, which is interesting. So, but there's some in this that I've not read otherwise, and I'm not really familiar with any fiction by them, besides the fact that they're in Mirror Knights. So we shall see how those go, how they're handled differently than say like Thieves World. But I really am a big fan of like shared world, like anthology type things. Thieves World being its own thing, but also just like Forgotten Realms does a lot of that stuff too. And I obviously read a lot of Forgotten Realms. So, anyways, now I'm talking too much. Thanks for watching.